back to Fangame Marathon. It's time, now is here, for Battle Kid, something we haven't seen in the marathon for quite a while now.
We've seen it before here?
I think we have. I think Fraggy did a run at some
Oh,
point.
damn. Okay. That would make sense. Must have been a very early marathon then.
It's definitely been a couple years.
Alright, well. I'll probably just get it started. I'll have a lot of downtime to just talk while I'm playing, so... Shall I start counting down?
Give me a countdown.
Cool. 3, 2, 1. Alright, so... This is Battle Kid. This is an I Wanna Be the Guy fan game that was made for the NES. It was very explicitly made for the NES. They actually made, like, real cartridges. And you could buy them. And at least some people do. So this is 1.0 of the game. There was a second version when they ported the cartridges over to Japan as well, which was significantly more balanced. I'll discuss that in a bit more detail as we get further in, though. In the meanwhile, welcome to Battle Kid. It's fairly simple to start with. All you really have is jump and shoot. Your jump is a certain height, and yeah, it starts of a run. Why is it freezing up? I've never had this happen before on stream. Okay, interesting. You may be wondering a little bit about the category, because it's a very hard mode instead of a speedrun. Have you ever enjoyed a game and thought, oh, I wonder what the speedrun's like for it, and then you go over to it and you realize it's something you will never be capable of? Hi, so I can't mash very quickly. This is a bit of a problem when it comes to a Battle Kid speedrun, because while I think I can mash decently for a person, if you compare me to, like, an average person that plays video games, I think I do pretty alright. If you compare me to certain speedrunners, such as Battle Kid runners, yeah, they're going to throw me into the water any day of the week, because none of the bosses in this game have iframes, and therefore my mashing skill will not keep up. But I'd still like to showcase the game, so what can I do? So, I beat the game without dying once, because I wanted to do the challenge at some point, so I thought, oh hey, that sounds like a good idea. I'll try submitting it to Fangame Marathon as that. However, as we all know, one life runs tend to be a little on the tricky side at the best of times. Trying to not die for an hour long is difficult regardless of what you're playing. Trying to not die for an hour on a game that you die in one hit for is quite a bit harder. Trying to not die for an hour in a game that you die in one hit for while also commentating said game, as we can already see, the commentary is having a bit of difficulty. One of the harder rooms, just have to pay attention. And occasionally I will stop talking anyway, so very hard mode is not dying in 0 lives. Like, not dying at all, we will live forever. Although that is still the purpose. The goal here is to try to make sure I get through the whole game without dying. However, I understand the reality of the situation with that. So this is very hard mode. If you've ever seen I Wanna Be the Guy fan game, you'll understand that they have difficulties: medium hard, very hard, and impossible. Normally, like the original game, this means you get less save points. However, this game does it differently. Instead of less save points, you get a life limit. Let's interrupt myself at the boss for a moment. So this is the first boss of the game. Some people may actually recognize this because it was this game was actually played on the Game Grumps YouTube channel at one point, and from what I'm told, they struggled a little bit here. In the sense that they could not beat this boss and then left the game forever. Apparently years later they did come back and the guy that struggled did manage to beat this boss, but yeah, that was the limit of their skill level. As you can see, the boss is not very complicated. It's fairly simple. You just got to deal with the weird tentacle looking thing coming up from underground, kind of desyncing over time as things go on. It's also hard to try to beat a game of one life when apparently it freezes every so often for reasons unknown to you. I genuinely don't know what's going on for that one, so alright, fine. That's going to be something interesting. But yeah. So difficulties in this game are not reduced save count, so you have to survive for a longer time. Instead, you just have to try to not die as much as you can. So normal mode is the regular game, infinite lives, and all the checkpoints you could possibly want. There is an easy mode for 1.0 of this game, which is infinite lives, but you start with a double damage power-up, so enemies and bosses die faster. Hard, you have a 50 life limit, and then after that the game is over, no retrying. Very hard is 20, and unfair mode, which is basically the equivalent of impossible, is don't die. If you are playing on unfair mode, and you try to take a checkpoint, it even says it doesn't even matter. So it even changes the text there, knowing that the checkpoints don't actually do anything for you. So yeah, there will be probably multiple times where I stop talking just because of trying to make sure I'm actually paying attention to the game. There will be multiple times where I lose focus on what I'm trying to say because I am trying to pay attention to the game for a moment. But yeah, we've already made it past boss 1. In my opinion, the start of the game is kind of one of the harder parts. Partly because of having to time things, and partly because you just don't have many abilities. The first ability we got on that previous loop, like I said, interrupting myself to pay attention to things for a bit. The first ability we got is actually a high jump, so normally we could jump around 2.5 blocks high, but thanks to that we can now jump half a block higher. Whoa! It's 3 blocks! When we do see the credits, you will see this game is, despite the way it looks, it's explicitly inspired by I Wanna Be the Guy. But it does have a very, very Mega Man vibe. Like, before the credits popped up, I genuinely thought it was going to be more Mega Man than I Wanna Be the Guy, but hey, I've been wrong before, so... So yeah, the way this game works is there are 6 bosses to start with, and you've got to finish them off. And that will unlock the final area, but in the meanwhile you have to go around collecting all these power-ups and keys so that you can continue to make progress. Obviously, without a high jump, I can't jump 3 blocks high. I'm not able to make certain jumps. Without certain keys, I cannot open certain doors, and you get the idea. Progress continues exactly as you'd expect. Right. Always have to be a bit careful on the fans to make sure I don't accidentally mistime things. So yeah, while this game is pretty consistent, like there, that wasn't actually scary, the max height cannot reach that bullet there. Really though? Okay, let's just reset this. There's also a thing that like, every room will reset if you leave it and re-enter, which makes things very, very consistent for this. So pretty much every room I have a strategy for in some way, shape or form. Like, wait there, wait for the fan, then hold right so you don't accidentally run into the spikes. So if you ever have trouble with the room, you think you've entered it a little bit late, leave and re-enter. And you can give it another shot again. And there was something... I thought that jump wasn't going to work then. Nice. But also, because the game is an hour long, there is a very decent chance that at some point I just kind of forget what room is coming next. I think it's something else, I hold right, and it turns out there was only 1 block in front of me instead of 3 and I fall off and run into spikes. Because that has very much happened in runs. Yeah, welcome to Battle Kit. Like I said, there is actually a 2.0 of this game, which does rebalance things significantly, and it also changes the difficulties up a lot too. For example, normal mode in 2.0 Battle Kit actually gives you 3 health instead of the 1-hit kill, and then hard mode's the 1-hit kill but infinite lives. There's also an easy mode that gives you more health and the enemies have less, and a very easy mode that you have even more health. There's like 7 hits or something. It was very interesting playing 2.0 semi-recently just to see what it was like, because I was actually thrown off in how certain things were changed and nerfed. Thought that was going to be late for once then. Oh. So like I said, certain cases I'm going to have to stop talking to pay attention. As you can probably imagine, there's a fair bit of timing on certain things. And as much as I'd like to talk about everything, some things I don't have much to say about anyway, and some things I just need to make sure I don't make a mistake, because when you're trying to do something in one life, it's just any sort of minor distraction can make you screw up. This is boss 2. Shout out to Bigfoot in chat for teaching me this strat. You're supposed to be going back and forth to dodge this laser. However, the laser is a little stupid. The laser is not the smartest. Bad RNG. If we got lucky and he spawned the axis from the bottom, I wouldn't have to think about it. I could just jump and shoot. But as you can see, thanks to being able to stand still and shoot all the time, boss 2 is not the one that we're worried about. The one we're worried about is boss 3, which will take a while to get there, but you will immediately understand as to why. Do have to be a bit careful on one of the jumps coming up here. This one messed me up a lot when I was trying unfair mode. Nice. It's not too hard if you're a little bit near the edge, but it's like if you're slightly too far away, you have a lot less leeway than you expect. Make sure that you never beat boss 3. No, that's fine. Boss 3 doesn't have strats. Boss 3 just has being good. Which, as we all know, is a lot harder when you're not so used to playing the game. Halfway through the sentence, I realized maybe I'm taking a dig at someone that I did not mean to do. Oops! So yeah, case in point about me being slow at shooting, you can get up here immediately, obviously. However, I can't aim accurately or shoot very fast, so to be sure that I don't die, I make sure I play it safe. So yeah, the name of the game here is not about speed, the name of the game here is safety. It doesn't matter if a method of getting through a room is fast, as long as it gets you through consistently. If it doesn't kill you, that's the right way to play it. And as you can see, if you mess up for a moment, leave the room, re-enter, everything's good, you've reset it. Welcome to goblins, aka the tankiest things in the world. As a reminder, I don't feel like I can shoot very quickly. Yeah, so because I'm playing on very hard mode instead of unfair, I've got 20 life limit, so the checkpoints will actually matter for this. In the case that I do die, which is very possible. Right, back room. Run, run, run. Unfortunate. Alright, cool. The exit there is always a little bit scary. And let's take the save to be sure. I can show you off, there you go. Continue point marks. So yeah, if I do manage to die, everything we've done will be saved for that place. Dude, these stutters are weird. I have genuinely never seen this at any point that I've played this game before. I don't know what's causing that. Hopefully the bitrate's not dying too much, although it is a fairly simple looking game compared to some. Alright, time for bat room number 2. This is one of the scarier rooms, honestly. It took me a good while to find a good strategy for this. So I wait for the bullet there to actually go a little bit past the wall first, then jump, and then go straight. I have a very specific strat for that one. So yeah, as you can tell, every room has a method in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, certain rooms such as that are fairly straightforward. The method is just jump from a distance and shoot. But certain rooms, you've got to be very certain on how you want to get through them to make sure you don't make a mistake. But yeah, this is the start of the water. As you can see, we do have a timer here. We do not have infinite oxygen at the moment. The timer, for the most part, really doesn't matter. 90 seconds is more than enough time to get through any section in this game. Well, nearly any section. There's a couple of saves where it does matter. But those are very apparent when you get there. Boy. This is always the area I'm worried about in an unfair mode run. This is still kind of the hub area right now, so it's not too bad, but the checkpoint after this one is very much where things kick off a little bit. Not that it's not possible for me to screw up before. I always forget this room, every time. There you go, didn't die, good. Not that it's not possible to make mistakes beforehand, obviously. It is very possible to make mistakes beforehand. Like, in many a run, I've just found a new room somewhere freeze is throwing me off so much, man. Keep thinking I've messed up a jump. You can forget things for a moment, like that robot room, for example, in practice. There was one time I entered it, paused for a moment to think about what was going on, and then went for it anyway instead of just resetting the room. That is always the wrong play. The start of this song. The start of the song to me always feels like one of those songs in an old I Wanna Be the Guy fan game. It was just like, this should be restarting music that gets used. Just these first 5 notes feel like there's something that I should hear starting again over and over again. And I don't know why, but it immediately upsets me. But yeah, welcome to the Wizard stage. I haven't spoken much about the plot. That was something I forgot about at the start. Basically, the plot of this game is Dr. B has Sorry, my bad, never mind. Welcome to the on-off thing. If I talk much during this, then I won't hear the timing. And I probably will die, so... So these will be the main sections where I can't speak. There are a couple of minor skips in places, but they're genuinely quite difficult. So where was I? I was talking about plot, right. Dr. B intercepted a signal, finding out that some organization... Yeah, I heard the lag frames in that one too, don't worry. It was throwing me off and made me panic a little bit. Intercepted a signal from some organization we don't know about. Apparently they are on a certain island, and they're trying to power up a super mech. The super mech is bad. That is all we, as Timmy, have been told, basically. You don't want the super mech to get around, it's going to do a lot of damage. Damage is bad. So, the doctor says she's found this information to make a suit. However, we've not managed to finish making the suit yet. It makes you really strong, but it's not very durable, so you die pretty quickly in it. So that's also the, technically a backstory for how these power-ups work. So you're actually going around finding these power-ups to finish powering up the suit, wait for 2... And then this sideways shooty guy will take forever to come back again, so you can take your time killing the goblin, and get rid of you. But yeah, so this fortress place is apparently the home for wizards, which is the current stage that we're in. And eventually the idea is to try to find out where the super mech is and make sure that it's destroyed so it can't harm anybody. And unfortunately... there's more on off, so... I hope you didn't like me talking. And also, that's slow sometimes. Bro, what was the... I'm blaming the lag frames. That is an unfortunate place to die. I was hoping I could make that back in time there. It froze as I was trying to jump. Yeah, I was kind of expecting that. I really thought I'd be able to make it back in time at least. I'm kind of surprised I didn't have the time. Because that jump at the end's kind of tricky, so I have to be careful about it. So that's why I went back instead of going for it. Yeah, let's pretend that death didn't happen because it was lag related. Jesus, okay. friggin'... So I'm trying to hold left at the right time for a certain length, and it's really difficult when it pauses for 3 frames in the middle of it all. Alright, anyway, this is boss 3. This is Cleo. You have 3 seconds to figure out why Cleo is the hardest boss in the game. If you spend 3 seconds, you're already dead. There she goes! Nope. I'm just going to be safe about that one. That was a bit iffy. Blue is honestly the scary attack because it means I can't end where I want to. Yeah, Cleo has speed. I spoke earlier about there being a 2.0 of this game. To give an example of how hard Cleo is in 1.0, in 2.0 she has half the attacks. 3 of these 6 in the background are just gone. That was not the strat because of blue there, that was my bad. Cool. First try still, good. Half the attacks are gone, and she's so slow in going from one side to the other, I died about 5 to 10 times trying to figure out the new speed difference. Because I was so unused to it. You know what, I'm taking the save. I'm gonna be safe about it. So, to repeat something I was saying earlier, a lot of this game is pattern. Like, 99% of this game is genuinely pattern. You can predict everything in this game. The only thing that is RNG is when you're on certain bosses and when they're choosing attacks. And that is it. So Cleo, for example, can choose from one of 6 attacks. That is a bit of a problem, you've got to learn 6 attacks. However, once she's chosen that attack, you know exactly how it's going to play out because it will be the same every time. Wait, down here. Just picking up a portal real quick, that'll be helpful later. That is by far the hardest boss. If you can get past boss 3, you have a run going for Unfair mode. In my mind, I'm still counting this as deathless. Realistically, it is obviously not, but this is why you play on very hard mode and not an unfair. Because in a marathon setting, sometimes things go wrong that you don't expect, such as, for some reason, the game stuttering despite you never seeing that in your life. I'm going to blame the server. I don't know how the server would cause the problem, but I'm going to blame it anyway. Considering the other issues the server's had, I truly don't know why this is happening here. But yeah, thanks to Cleo, we did manage to get the Feather Fall, aka the Slow Fall ability, which lets us get across a lot bigger gaps than before. Which is also very nice because it just means that you just have a bit more leeway when trying to make jumps that you'd normally try to do. That gap has killed me more times than I care to admit. That being twice. I was not happy with those deaths. But like the first frame or so that you move, you actually just move on the spot, as you can see. You don't actually walk. So you've got to hold it for a moment just to actually move to the side. So when you're trying to fit into a small gap, it can cause problems. Yeah, Slow Fall is definitely one of the most useful abilities in the game though. Just because of the fact that it gives you so much more time to try to do a jump. Regardless of how hard that jump may be. And then if you make a mistake on the jump, it gives you more time to try it again. So yeah, as you can see, the timer's not really that big of a deal. 28 seconds still, and we're already at the next checkpoint. 90 seconds is a lot of time. It's really not too much of a worry. However, it will come into play later. A server would never have the issues, Cosmo says, as his face gets blurred for the 10th time in his run. Like, I'd like to believe you, but how can I know for sure that it's Cosmo telling me this? Wait for the second round. Oh. Alright, go for another set. Ah, really? Oh, we did! Oh, that's good to know then. Fair enough. Yeah, thankfully for the most part, lag shouldn't affect issues on things, because I have specific, like, it's visual cues for most things. The only thing that's a audio cue is the stuff that we just saw in Cleo's stage. They will be making a return. We'll see how that goes later. And because it's a rhythm game, it's one of those things like, if I'm talking, I can't do it very consistently. If I'm not talking, I will probably never die. If I start holding right there, that frog doesn't hit the bullets. Don't know how that works, but hey, you have the strat, it's consistent, it works. Great. Yeah, credit where it's due, the game's music is really good. Oh yeah, shout out to the waterfall in the background. If it seems a bit bright to you, it is. 2.0 nerfs that. If you are curious about this game, by the way, 2.0 of this game is actually available on itch.io. Like, it's actually pretty easy to get. You don't even have to find an emulator or anything. Alright, that's one of the harder jumps. I have a specific audio cue for that one, though. When the first block appears as the note starts getting higher pitched, that's when I'm supposed to jump to the right. Because the timing is actually pretty tight on that. If I don't make that jump, that's fine. The block below will reappear in time before I get back down. Yeah, like I said, I have methods for everything. When you make everything in a game consistent, you find a strategy that will be consistent for you. So even in practice, a couple of days ago, I replayed the game just to try to remember my strats. Obviously, the first playthrough took a while. But then, even after that, on the first playthrough, I still managed to do it in under 20 deaths again. This room's one of those cases of what I mean about it's easy to lose focus. This room killed me 2 times, I think, when I was trying unfair mode, because I just forgot it existed. And then I ran too far because I wasn't thinking about it. Small jump, big jump, there you go. Like, truly, losing focus is always the biggest killer when it comes to a long one-life attempt. Just getting distracted by something off to the side for a moment. And not thinking about what you're doing. Because while I do say, like, some of these rooms are a little tricky, like the timing on that previous block, that one is a bit hard. For the most part, there's not really much precision in this game, thankfully. Mostly, obviously. With the way I've got everything laid out, at least. Say hello to this frog, it's going into the loser pit. Goodbye, frog. Alright, and we got O2. So after boss 3 being the hardest thing in existence, how hard do you think boss 4 is going to be? So if you predicted hard, you would be wrong. This is everything. We have already seen it. This boss has 3 attacks. I forget the third one exists sometimes. Because it's that eel that chases after me on the far left-hand side. All the production budget went into Cleo, I guess. I don't know. This boss is kind of nothing. It's here. Giant sea dragon looking thing is trying its best. It's not going well for it. Again, in 2.0, this boss does get made a lot more interesting. The attacks have a bit more randomness. It's not just a set order of which attack is coming next. It changes things up. But yeah, in 1.0, the version we're playing here, there's not too much to worry about. There's really not too much to worry about. It's comparable to the first boss in terms of difficulty. I'd say a little bit harder. The water bubbles there with the method that I do can be a little close at times, but for the most part, yeah, on par with boss 1. So yeah, we've definitely gotten past the hardest parts of the game so far until we get nearest the end. Cleo is obviously the biggest issue with having to remember so much and react semi-quickly. Obviously, we still have to get out of the waterfall area, which is going to be its own problem. There is still a few saves, a bit of backtracking, and so on and so forth. Mainly the snail room, which always worries me, even though it's not even that bad. And then we'll be off to the 5th place. Now that we've got... Wait, sorry, I always forget on the way. No, we don't go straight to Area 5. We cannot go to Area 5 yet, because while we can now breathe infinitely, we do not have the key to unlock the place yet. So, if you're paying attention, there are certain routes you may have noticed me avoid. Obviously, they are routes I will have to go to later. Epilepsy warning. That will be returning. 2.0 does not have the giant blinding flashing lights. 1.0 unfortunately has it in a few places. Mainly near the end. Nope, that is a death on me. I forgot the cycle. You're meant to hold right hit. Like I said, you forget for a moment and you kind of rush and yeah. That death I will accept. You stop thinking at the wrong time, that's annoying. It's always a stupid death. There's never something satisfying, unfortunately. Because if it's something satisfying, you're probably paying attention, it was hard, and that just doesn't really happen here. But yeah, so there's a little bit of backtracking here to go back to the start of the water section. Gotta replay these screens a few times, because while I went left the first time around, there was in fact a left... while I went right the first time, there is in fact a left path, and there's a key there. So obviously, you may be wondering why we may need infinite O2 for anything, considering 90 seconds is clearly more than enough for anything. How do you make a section that requires infinite O2 when 90 seconds is such a long time? Welcome to genuinely one of my favourite saves in this game. This is the corridor save. This is it. There is no more deadly objects. Now we are just running through walls. So, in the meanwhile, I guess I'm just going to shout out people from the tech crew, because there's not anything else to talk about here. It's just corridors. So shout out to Wolsk and Cosmoing, the heads of Fangame Marathon, for trying to keep things organised and keeping it all running. Shout out to Smartkin and Aglab for being our code monkeys and being way smarter than anyone else on the team. Doing a lot of behind-the-scenes code work that's been a lot of help. Shoutouts to Oive for most of the art that we've got, and WolfieXE for some of the art that we've got. Shoutouts to myself and the Nader 2 for doing the vast majority of highlights for this marathon, just highlighting runs and then porting it to YouTube. And a little bit to Mushi64 for covering a couple of runs here and there. And then shoutouts to all the restreamers as well. I don't remember most of them because they change every year and there's a lot of them. I can never remember who they are. But yeah, there's a lot of people that goes into making a marathon run, so shoutouts to everybody involved. Not the runners, to heck with them. No, they don't matter. Just everybody else. And we've got key 2, let's go! Bit more replaying screens to get back to where we want to go. I've died there before in an actual run, and it felt bad that time too. I was late that time, so when I died there on one of my actual runs, it felt really stupid, and it still does, but before it was because I went too early. I actually died to that. God damn it. There's no such thing as a good death in a one-life run. There really isn't. So there's actually 2 routes that I can take here. I can either take the bottom route, going back through... Thanks, like some of the water saves I've done. However, taking the top route here is significantly easier. So even though it goes all the way up and around, because I need to come back down the same distance, it's a lot safer. And safety is the name of the game here. Safety is very much what's important. So, we take the safe path. And despite the fact we have to do the scary bat room again, with slow fall, this bat room is really not that hard. You have so much time to jump there, it's very, very reasonable. On to Area 5, now that we've got Key 2. So, we've done the water area. The... lag. Why lag? Alright, so we've got 2 deaths to lag and 2 real deaths so far. Oh my god, I'm not ready for the freeze frames when I do minute movements, man. I'm really not. Hug the wall, small tap forwards, bigger tap back apparently, because the lag will kill me otherwise. I'll take the save, sure, why not? Now we go on to the next area. So yeah, we've been in water, this is ocean. Completely different because it has completely different enemies. Definitely, that's how that works. The water stage couldn't have fish or blowfish. Blowfish don't live in water, as we all know. They only live specifically in oceans. So yeah. Please, hit it. Thank you. It's got a different tile set, therefore it's got to have a different area. None of these names are official for the record, by the way. I've made them up myself at some point because I had to write something down so I'd understand what it means when I look at the backup saves that I've made. For when I wanted to practice things. Wait for 2. There we go. So fun fact, that room there was where my furthest attempt was on unfair mode before I finally got the clear. Don't ask how I managed to first try literally everything from there onwards. I did say I think this game is very consistent, and that is the case. That is the proof there. I do think the game personally gets a bit easier from this point in terms of the consistency, but yeah, obviously there is still quite a lot of game left. Right, you, yeah. There we go. Right, this weird starfish movement. Yeah, they always go vertically then horizontally while trying their best to move towards you. It's very weird looking. I screwed that up in practice as well. God, how do I slip off the block? Like, I want to go, and then I think the blowfish is a bit low and I'm gonna go back, but yeah. I don't have double jump here, so... Thankfully I didn't die this time. Salt water instead of fresh water. Yeah, exactly, you get it, you get it. There is a difference. Weird octopus squid things. I've completely forgotten the names. We'll find the names in the credits later. They can't live in fresh water. They gotta be in salt water. Right, wait here for a while. Just because it gets all the starfish out of the way. Again, safety is what's important. Safety first is the name of the game. Which is also why I will spend all this time killing this bottom fish, because whenever I was trying this game, I could not jump past this thing. Both of these fish at once, I could not find a good timing. These tails were too big and they'd always get in the way and then I'd die. Which is obviously not great for the consistency. So coming up here is the second scariest boss in the game. It pales in comparison to Cleo. Cleo is easily the scariest, however, things can go wrong very quickly at a couple of places on boss 5. Like that you can hear the lag. So basically the way this upcoming boss will... Oh yeah, some things just can't be sped up. Regardless of whether you're being slow or safe, this room's just like this. So yeah, the way this boss works is it can start from any one of the 4 positions, and it will always shoot clockwise. Therefore, you need a strategy for each of the 4 positions to be able to shoot things. The problem comes with when any of them die, the rest speed up. Oh, come on, bottom left, really? Game, why do you lag on me? Don't freeze on me. Not there. Because yeah, I can't go too far to the right or I'll be a bit close to the bullet, and obviously stopping a bit early stops me on the block. And that's not great either. Okay, I've done a lot of damage to the bottom one. Yeah. Alright, so as you see, the transition is what is scary here. As long as you get past the transition, the rest of this is fine. But like knowing when one of the seahorses is going to die to affect the rest, because if the top right is going to live for a bit longer than you expect, then you're going to have some problems with trying to react to the bullet being on the left side or the right side at the start of the boss. And yeah, even when it's all 4 are alive, as you can see, if you make a slight slip up, you land on the block and the bullet gets a bit closer than you're expecting. Adds 3 deaths to lag. I will say, I did not expect to have to practice freeze frames. That did not cross my mind when I was trying to play things in advance. But yeah, at long last, this is finally a real game. We have the power-up that matters in any video game. We have a double jump. Yay! There's a really old article from like the 90s or so, which was called like Time to Crate, or Time to Barrel or something, which measures the amount of time it took in a game to find a barrel or a crate available. And I really feel like in the modern day, you can go time to double jump in a platformer as a new method, just a metric of some sort. What info it tells you, I don't know, but I feel like it would be interesting. Like, for example, Guacamelee, you get double jump pretty much immediately. Here, you get it 5 out of 6 bosses in. You get it fairly late for a game supposedly inspired by I Wanna Be the Guy, a game who's famously known for one of its only mechanics being you can double jump. But yeah, despite being this far in, we have double jump now, with one area remaining and a lot of backtracking. As you can probably imagine, having double jump does tend to make things a lot easier for sections that are made for only having single jump. Which is great, it feels like you're very overpowered, you know? Going back through things that you're not supposed to have something for. So it just feels like you can bypass all the things that were a struggle the first time around. That was on me. I screwed up the strategy. I should have reset, but I didn't think that one on the right would go up at the end there. That one's on me. So that's 3 for 3? Is that 3 deaths on me, 3 deaths on the game? Yeah, like I said, if anything ever goes wrong on the strategy, you need to just reset the room and it's fine, but... like, you need to go immediately for that pufferfish just to be sure about it. There you go. There you go. It looks so easy when you do it correctly. Because it is. But especially when you've already died once as well, it's almost like the floodgates have opened. Nope, reset, go back round. Game, please. Thankfully not all the lag frames are killing me, because otherwise this run would already be over. Holy crap. The number of freezes is crazy. Yeah, and then we're back out of Ocean. We are back in the main hub area yet again. This is such a good song, dude. It's a shame it gets interrupted by the save points. Thankfully in 2.0 it does not get interrupted by the save points. I don't think the save points have their song anymore, so you get to hear the music play out, which is fantastic. Yeah, I don't really have a name for Area 6. In my notes, I think I just called it Area 6. Caves is a good name as well, but I don't know, they feel a bit reflective for caves to me. They're a bit on the shiny side. Feel free to come up with your own name for it, it's your call. Yeah, so as you can see, very much making use of double jump. Relatively precise platforming for how this game has played out so far. But for the most part, not too bad. Jumped a bit high on that one. I'm glad that double shot came out as a double shot. I don't know if the lag frames can make me do an extra bullet. Alright, cool, that's the scariest room in this area to me. Genuinely. Just because it's a little iffy trying to jump past that gap. You have to make sure you do just the right height, and if you don't rush, then the slime respawns, so you don't really get to retry it. You've got to just go. The scariest things in this game are always just cases where you aren't allowed to retry. You've got to just do the platforming. But yeah, funnily enough, so while I'm saying that I don't think this area is that bad, apparently the maker also thought similarly, because there is at least a few screens, such as this one and the one after, that were actually made harder in 2.0. Yeah, this one specifically. This one's actually quite tough in 2.0. Really? That's unfortunate. I really went too far there. I know I died once in practice for that one, but I still didn't expect it to happen. I thought I was going to be far enough to the left. What hit me? I was a bit too far to the right and the bullet got me. I understand why I died, I'm just surprised I was that far to the right. Yeah, Battle Kid is not an easy game. Even when you know how everything works. Nope, screw that. There you go. Yeah, I was a bit too far to the right there. Because the bullets aren't, like, lined up with the blocks or anything, they skim a little bit. So, because I was a bit over, hit the bullet. It's what it is. Cool. And now we finally got key 3. However, we cannot escape by going back the way we came, that just gives us the ability to continue on to the next boss. Slime is a lot easier on the way back. You can just hug the wall, jump, and everything's great. Yeah, we did have to make a slight detour to even be able to get to the right in the first place. Don't worry about this thing. One of the few pieces of platforming you can just skip entirely. Also changed in 2.0, unsurprisingly. Funny little troll here. So if you're playing for the first time, you wait for a moment, that will get you. There we go. Area 6, nice and easy. So this boss can spawn either top or bottom, and either left or right. And out of the 2 attacks they have, they can spawn either a pattern attack or a targeted attack. For some reason, I thought I was going to be the targeted one there. Basically, the only one I don't want to see is just being in the air for the targeted attacks. I can't really get much damage in there. But everything else is generally pretty alright. Yeah, as you can see. Game, I cannot be having lag when, yeah, especially in this transition to the targeted one. Really giving myself hard mode today, huh? Also, I haven't pointed this out at any point, but you may have noticed it anyway. As the boss loses HP, they change colour. So this is the last third of her health. Of course, I'm waiting for the pattern one to come again. Doesn't do it. Good. Yeah, nice and easy. And that's all 6 bosses cleared. So, obviously, Timmy's talking about the terminal. So at the start of the game, there is a computer that tells you where you're supposed to go in case you get lost. Which makes sense. There are some cases where it's a bit hard to keep track of which routes you've taken in the hub. However, for the most part, it's not very necessary. Especially when you're replaying the game, you'll remember which way you went. However, while we can go straight to the end at this point, we are going to make a very slight detour. It adds a little bit of time, but it's very much not risky because we're going through the first area again with 4 extra power-ups. As you can probably imagine, this makes you a little bit overpowered for sections where you could not even jump very high. But the reason for this is that we don't have a 4th key. And this 4th key is actually used for 2 things. One is for the good end of the game, where you actually get to see your credits. Why am I going this time? And the other is for the ultra secret special area, which gives you a double damage power up, which is actually really strong for this game. That area is very, very difficult, and I will not be doing it. Yeah, there's the terminal. If you're ever wondering where we were on the screen, we now have coordinates. Epilepsy warning again. And yeah, I told you this was an unbeatable Fangame. I actually lied. It is Metroid. Clearly. It's got a Metroid reference, therefore it's a Metroid Fangame. That's how it works, right? Pay no attention to the fact I want to be the guy who also does this. Yeah, and now we're in the final area, so I hope you enjoyed those coordinates. They are gone forever. So this is the final area of the game. This is, just like a Mega Man game, by far the longest part of the game. Even if you include, like, backtrack saves that I made for backup stuff, that probably adds up to around 6 saves for a certain area in the water stage. This place adds up to 8. And as you've probably noticed by now as well, most saves in this game are fairly long. There's a lot of screens for one checkpoint. Also, I hope you remember these guys from the start of the game. That was meant to be a single jump, but thankfully we have a double jump, so it's okay if we walk off the edge. I just have a specific timing for that one. However, I won't talk anyway in a moment because... Wait, no, next save. I made this mistake last time. I thought everyone's favourite gimmick was coming back up, and it's not yet. Yeah, 2 screens from now, everyone's favourite gimmick returns, where the streamer has to stop talking unless he wants to die. This is intended. If you go for it, you die. Can't make that in time. Yeah, I was worried about this screen lagging, for good reason. There's a lot of stop-starting on that screen. Cool, didn't get the extra bullet, nice. Always better to go too short on this rather than too far. Too far is death, obviously. Yeah, no, the only ones that are one block wide are against walls. They weren't that cruel. Baz. Alright, last save. Back to the ocean. So as you can probably tell as well, this is very much an area that's kind of using everything. It's very much the medley stage of the game. Which, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's like how it is in Wily as well, so... Nice. There are definitely a lot of things I have to pay attention for in this. Nope. It actually shot left that time. That is one of the hard rooms. I died to that one in practice as well. So whenever the shellfish change direction, they actually delay their shots for a frame. That one's just on me. So it actually desyncs it slightly. So despite the fact the right one did shoot on the right first, and I thought that was okay, the left one took a moment longer, and apparently I chose that window to swap sides. Unfortunate, but that's why we play on very hard mode and not unfair mode, because it's easy to make a simple mistake at points. But like, the bullets are very scary on this. Like, to me, that's genuinely the safest strat I found. Nice. Come on. One up here. Cool. You can jump over that bottom slime, but it's pretty tight on the timing. It is not easy. And then this is the last room for this checkpoint. I will give the epilepsy warning now. Because while I said that was the last save, that meant that is the last save of the first half of the final stage of the game. Your inventory's been lost. Welcome to part 2. Get it all back. And by far one of the scariest saves in the game, because while the whole way through I've been saying the 90-second limit mostly doesn't matter except for a couple of cases, one of them is the key 2 rooms with that giant maze, the other one is here. Because you can't really reset rooms much when you have a timer ticking down. The number we're looking for specifically is 13 when we enter a room with this gimmick again. Right at the end after a shellfish. I'm going to reset that. If I am at 13 seconds or under, I'm going to have to do something stupid. Generally not a problem. The vast majority of the time I get there with about 20. But it is worth noting. Because if you are under 20, it's going to be cutting it close. And you don't get any redos on a 90-second time limit. I get full shots in there. Okay. Okay, looking good at least, though. It should be fine. It's just nerve-wracking when you get to the first few screens in case you make mistakes. Nice. Oh, very clean. 22. Wow. So basically, if you're at 13 or under here, you're not going to make it to the end in time and survive. And you've got to jump between one of these blocks over the gap. It's a 1-block gap, but yeah, 8 seconds left there. With playing that decently. You understand the fear. Thankfully, that is by far the scariest save, I'd say. So now we've only got 3 saves left and a couple of bosses. This one comparatively is fairly chill. Now that we've got our infinite O2, we can pretty much relax and collect the next power-up. But yeah, in the speedrun itself as well, I was saying earlier that they mash a lot better. Some of the strats they use are also pretty scary. In the speedrun, they just don't get the O2 here. They don't pick it up and they jump between these blocks, over these gaps here, to try to make it to the next power-up faster so they don't die of, you know, oxygen deprivation. I'm good with not trying that, so... With O2, with infinite oxygen, being able to take your time with it, very chill. Not too much to worry about. Obviously, it doesn't mean you can just lose focus. Relaxing is kind of what kills when you're hoping for a low-death run, as we've seen in a couple of cases already. Just not thinking for a moment, you panic, and there's a death. But it's definitely nowhere near as worrisome as the first save in this section. Not by a long shot. Nice, okay. Game, please. Cool, alright, that's power up 2. So the saves get a little harder again from this point onwards. They can't all be easy. Can't all be a chill, relaxed time in the final stage. So now we have to worry about timing things again. Appreciate it didn't lag on me. So there's actually two strats I'm technically using to make this safer once here. One of them is going on the third fan here, because you could jump next to the slime or jump over it. The other is my strat that I personally found, which is using the fan to bonk on that block to be able to shoot the slime, so that it's not in the way when you're trying to jump past, because as I've said before, mashing hard, accuracy hard. So you put them both together and you make extra sure that you're going to make it through the screen. And double jump. Funnily enough, the power-up we get last is slow fall, despite it being the second one we got originally. And it does make a bigger difference than you'd think. There were many times when I was doing practice I had to remind myself I didn't have slow fall because I was holding up to give myself more leeway on some of the jumps. How did I not have a... Okay, apparently that wasn't 6 damage. Nice. One more save. So what's that so far? 3 deaths to lag, 4 deaths to my own mistakes? I think that's still pretty good overall. I'm pretty happy with that. Room for improvement, unsurprisingly, but, you know, life modes tend to be like that. If a strat looks scary, I can assure you it's not. It does look pretty messed up on that room, I'll freely admit. When I first saw it, it was scary as heck, but... honestly, that section scares me more. That is by far the scariest screen in this little checkpoint here. Rushing actually works really well here. Everything lines up. Okay, almost there now. Hey, nice, followed all the way down. There's only one jump left, but I'll take the save just to be sure about it. Always good to be safe. Pardon me. Always good to be safe. Yeah, that's the only jump. Just do the smallest jump you can, it's fine. Then we're... sorry. On to Zed. Second last boss. Zed has time powers. Zed's not very good at using his time powers. He can stop time. This is the scariest dodge you have, going between those two bullets. That's it. Zed has 4 attacks. We don't care what Zed chooses, because none of them really matter, because Zed's not very good at using his time powers. Hey, good job, Zed. You did the scary attack twice. Well done. Like, at one point I was trying to debate in my head what the easiest boss was, and I thought Zed might be one of the easiest too. Until I started thinking about, well, a scary one 3 times. Wow, crazy. Until I started thinking about it a little bit and remembered, like, you know, boss 2 is free, boss 4's existence. Hey, this is a good attack. I get a lot of damage on this one. Okay. As you can see, he can do the same attack multiple times. Flashing warning. I did say before it got at its worst, but yeah, my bad. There will be more flashing on the final boss. Shockingly enough, it took them 7 bosses to realize that maybe somebody's here, and they're going to activate the super mech to cause us trouble. So here we go. Here's the final boss. Let's go! Yeah, no, shockingly enough, that guy isn't the end. You can't have a big checkpoint like this without a giant flashing warning right before the last part. It'll happen at the end of the boss too. Don't lag on me on that attack. So yeah, this boss has 5 attacks. If we want to be safe, the 2 we want to see are lasers and the rockets here. As these are by far the easiest to pull off consistently. This is lasers. If we want damage, what we want is this, energy balls. That's a mistake on my part. Energy balls, which I normally don't die to. Every time I retry the boss, we've got to get the flashing. Yes, that's how this works. Because I can jump up and get a couple of hits in every single time. And then also the green targeted shots that you saw earlier. This thing. The green targeted shots are the one I like to see the least. Just because they're targeted and people tend to have less consistency than a computer. So the green targeted bullets will start wherever you are at that point, and depending on... Considering you'll probably be going for damage, that can be while you're in the air. Which can give you some very awkward dodges on the timing when you're not quite aware of where they're going. In the update, yes, in 2.0, the infinite auction item doesn't exist and a lot of the flashing gets fixed. I'm pretty sure it still has the flashing on boss death, but most of the rest of it's gone. 2 deaths on this boss? Really? Damn. Unfortunate. Yeah, so I'll try to stop talking and pay attention, because as I said earlier, talking always makes a one-life attempt a lot harder. And while I don't think this boss is too difficult, most of the attacks are very consistent, as you can see. Green and energy balls being the scariest ones. Purple a little bit because of how close it makes you move to the boss sometimes. It is very consistent still. It's no Cleo, is what I'm saying. Oh, 3 hits. Wow, okay. Oh, you do love to see it. A lot of energy balls for damage. Yeah, and as you can see as well, he takes a lot of cycles, which is why you kind of like the extra hits. Takes a lot of attacks to get rid of him. Final 30 HP. He's got to be close now. He's got to be close. Thank you. Epilepsy warning. He's not over yet. Wait till the sound's done. Still going. That is the final boss. 10 deaths total. A little disappointing with how many deaths are at the end. Obviously was hoping for less, even ignoring the lag deaths in there. But hey, we'll take what we can get. I'm still pretty happy with it overall. Sub 10 is not half bad. So yeah, if you didn't have key 4 here, you'd have to go to the left. You see the ship escaping, bad end, oh no, I let them get away. However, we get to go to the right. Here we can see Chet. He's releasing their ship, sending it back to the main base for the organization to get a bunch of information. However, Chet is obviously kind of screwed. Chet's in a bad way. He's typical about things like, oh, you think this is over? You can't stop the organization. We'll do whatever we can still. However, we do get a couple of satisfying moments. Chet gets decked, pretty happy about that. Chet gets taken back to base, and Dr. B, the person who found the recording, knowing about the super mech in the first place, is, well, she's going to do some interrogating. She has some medicine. So, Chet says he won't talk. The doctor says otherwise. Don't worry about the war crimes. He's only going to go a little mad according to the end result. That's what the epilogue says. It's fine. And hey, credits! Let's go! So if you're ever wondering what any of the names of any of the creatures were in this game, here you go. This is literally everything. This is why we did good end. You don't get to learn any of this if you go for bad end instead. As you can see, everything's got a pretty decent name, and then you just get Frog. It's Frog. Not even green frog, it's just Frog. Alright, fair enough. Thank you very much, Spirix. I hope you enjoyed. Good job with this game, man. It's really cool. I'm a big fan. Except for her. Cleo can die in a fire. Oh my god, fighting Cleo for the first time is such a nightmare on 1.0 of this game. Like, you enter the boss fight and she immediately just Goomba stomps you. That is insane to deal with. Yeah. That's Battle Kid Fortress of Peril. Here's the credits. There'll be a couple of passwords that pop up at the end for, depending on what difficulty you clear on. So, normal only gets the bottom one, hard gets the bottom two, very hard which you cleared on will get all three, and then if you cleared on unfair mode with 1 life, you actually get a dev code as well that lets you start at any point with any bosses cleared, any number of keys, and any number of passwords. But yeah, as you can see, game inspired by I Want to Be the Guy. It's a pretty cool game. You can find it on itch.io if you want to give it a try. The normal mode on itch.io on V2.0 gives you 3 health, so it's not quite as punishing as this is. It's a good time, good platformer. I think Cosmo's hosting now, so...
I'm here.
Hi, Cosmo.
I'm just sitting here, I'm just waiting.
Yeah, no, we're all good. Feel free to take it away. I don't have much else to say after that.
I'm sure if you got nothing else, then we will move on to the next run, listen to music for a little while, and we'll get it set up. Thanks for the run, and up next, we have Super Cat Planet by Get Real. So follow that advice. I will see you after the break.